What's up, Thralls of Metal? Jammin Jon here, bringing you part 2 of my 40 albums of the year. If you tuned into the first one, you see I made some incredible choices, and this next segment is not lackluster whatsoever, as there are, once again, some killer bands. Again, just to state what an incredible year it was for death metal. I couldn't have been more pleased with everything that was released over the last year. It was good to see that bands didn't let the pandemic kill them, but instead they just came out with some disgusting releases. I'm going to jump right into it. Number 26, again, a record that we did not have because they don't have CDs. They just have tapes and vinyl. And I refuse to start collecting tapes again because I was a child in the 80s and I know the misery that tapes bring. Just wait. Just wait till your cassette player eats a tape. Just wait. Have fun winding all that back up. Anyway, number 26, Swampbeast with 7 Evils Spawned of 7 Heads. I think this was the second album that Nick and I reviewed for 2021. And once again, just crushing, brutal, heavy death metal. And this was the first I'd ever heard of these guys. I think it might have been the first that both of us had ever heard of these guys. But, dude, all things heavy. I love sour-faced, heavy, chuggy riffs. It's full of breakdowns. It's got a couple thrashy moments. Most of all, just heavy, heavy, heavy. 1,000 Years of Pestilence, The Permanence of Death. That track whoops nutsacks. Cerebral Spell of Decay. This is everything that I love about death metal in these guys, and I couldn't not have it on the list. I know I rated it pretty high when we jammed it the first time, and it was such a killer start to the new year, and it stood the test of time throughout the year. I jammed this record a ton. I really want them to release CDs because I really want to own a copy of this album. So yeah, go out and check out Swampbeast if you haven't heard it. Number 25, we're getting there, is the latest release from Cerebral Rot with the album Excretion of Mortality. On 20 Buck Spin, 20 Buck Spin has become a very reliable record label that I have really come to enjoy. You just know what you're going to get out of 20 Buck Spin. And Cerebral Rot came back with a second offering. They took all the things that I didn't like about the first record, whereas the first record I thought sounded kind of muddy and just needed to tweak the instruments a little bit. And this album tweaked everything, brought the drums up, brought the guitars out, made everything a little bit more crunchy. I adore this record. I'm glad that these guys are still going. I love the cover on this album too. Songs like Spewing Purulence, Vile Yolk of Contagion, Retching Innards. This has got a real old school feel to it, and it's just heavier than hell. Cerebral Rot, all the way. Good job, guys. Next in line at number 24, this kind of creeped onto my list as well, mostly because the guitar tone is so nasty in this record. The band Alder Dead with the album Returned to Life. These guys, I just love how they write songs. I love how they play just a bunch of off chords. The guitars and bass in this record, I think, are very well. They complement each other really well. The bass is kind of clean, whereas the guitars are kind of gritty. And these guys just know how to write crazy songs. A bunch of crazy, like polyrhythmic drums. Again, chuggy riffs. I know I say that a lot. This could be a drinking game. If you drink every time I say chug, you're going to be dead. So maybe don't drink for this. But anyway, songs like Mental Suicide, Return to Life, Final Pathogen, Rotting Outwards, again on Memento Mori Records. Please, 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 please check out Alder Dead. Number 23, a bit lower on the list than I thought it would be, but still, I can't go without saying Aborted with the album Maniacult. I've been a long time Aborted fan. Man, a long-time Aborted fan. I love these guys. First of all, these guys have got such a great sense of humor. Yeah, the title track, Maniacult, Portal to Vacuity, Dementophobia. First of all, have you seen the music video for Dementophobia? It's awesome. Another just great offering from Aborted. Just when you thought these guys couldn't get any heavier and couldn't get any faster, and just when you thought, Ken Badine's feet might fall off, or, just incredible. And plus, Sven is one of my favorite death metal vocalists. There's no denying that it's him on a record. And I will always love Aborted, and even though there's a little bit of filler in this record, it doesn't matter because Aborted whoops ass, and that's all I gotta say about that. Becerus with Homo, Homini, Brutus. Again, if you don't know Becerus on Everlasting Spew Records, I mean, there's vocals, but it's all like caveman grunts. There's no actual lyrics, even though it sounds like there are lyrics. This record is heavier than hell. Again, brutal, chuggy death metal, tons of groove in this record, tons of breakdowns, sour lemons, and again, it's all just caveman grunts, which I think is hilarious. Hymn to Ungainly Corpulence, Incapacity, Circular Deficiency, all these tracks are just killer, and this is so unique, but it sounds heavy, just like everything else. This just tears apart everything in its wake, and it was such a good time, and it's such a good concept. It's a lot of fun to listen to. Becerus. Next in line at number 21 is, again, a record that we don't have a physical copy of because it's kind of hard to get. The band Klexos with the album Apocryphal Parabolam. Shoot me if I pronounced that wrong. But I found these guys just tooling through Spotify. For those of you that have Spotify, you know that when there's a band that you like, if you scroll down, it'll bring up other bands you might be a fan of. And I clicked on Klexos, and again, Klexos kind of falls in the realm of Ion Dissonance, or maybe a little bit of Ulcerate. Our Place of Worship is Silence. Klexos just falls kind of within that realm. Now, Klexos is kind of all over the map. One of my favorite songs, Cosmogeny, the last minute and a half of this song is this nasty, nasty breakdown. Of course, me as a musician and a drummer, the drum lines in this song get stuck in my head. I believe this record as well is a self-release from these guys, and is their first full-length album. They had a single before this in 2020, but this is the first release for these guys. Go give these guys some love. They definitely deserve it, especially for a first release. Klexos, you definitely want to check out. At number 20 is Go Ahead and Die, with the album title Go Ahead and Die. Now, if you didn't know, this has Amadeus Cavalera and Max Cavalera in this band. I love this record. I love this record for the fact that it's not technical by any means. It's pretty much just straightforward death metal. There's a little bit of thrash at times, but for the most part, it's just like old school stomp your feet death metal. Although I did get hints of nail bomb at times. The song Ice Cage, the first song, Truckload Full of Bodies, Worth Less Than Piss. That's just fun to say. I just love how straightforward this album is and how refreshing it was. There's no bells and whistles on the production. It sounds very raw. But I mean, this is just straightforward, bare bones metal, and these guys don't take any shit. I love this album. Of course, we are enjoying our relationship with the Cavaleras, which is still weird to say. Still mind blown by that. But this is a hell of a record, a hell of a first release. I can't wait to see what comes next for these guys, and I definitely want to see this live if we ever get to see it live. So yeah, Go Ahead and Die. In the realm of bands like Gossardar and Inoculation and Devoid of Thought comes an offering that was a first-time listen for me. I think a first-time listen for a lot of people. Albeit it's an EP, it is definitely one that I could not leave off the list. I fell in love with this band the minute I heard it. Parallax Occlusion, I know Nick had it on his list of EPs. Again, for the fact that they're talking about digital art, graphic design, things like that. Definitely not screaming about Satan and blood and murder like you get in most death metal records, but I really love this record, it is balls to the wall, excellent death metal, doomy at times. Really, go back and watch our review. This record kicks ass, especially for only 3 tracks. I love the dark, grimy, gloomy feeling of this album. I love how evil it sounds. This record just is nasty through and through. Again, only 3 tracks. The last one, Geometric Dismemberment, I think is one of my favorites. You're going to want to check out Parallax Occlusion if you have not. If you don't take my word for it, take Necrotic Nick's word for it, or really anybody else that talks about this record, because they know what they're talking about, because this is a badass album. Number 18, Fossilization, He Whose Name Was Long Forgotten. Again, another EP on Everlasting Spew Records. I know Necrotic had this in his EP. I'm pretty sure he had this in his EP list. 4 tracks in the vein, once again, of Gossudar and Warflurch. Warflurch almost made it onto my list, actually. Also, again, very evil sounding. Again, the dissonance and the riffs. I like that dark, kind of creepy feeling. And this one just feels like I don't want to listen to this record in the dark. The last song, A Deplorable Epoch. The first song, Neanderthal Tombs. Again, there's only 5 tracks on this, but this record also whoops nuts. Definitely check out Fossilization. Number 17, Tribal Gaze with Godless Voyage. Again, another EP, because I thought I had less than 10 EPs, but who knows where we're at now. I may have 10 EPs, but I don't care. Tribal Gaze. This is the first release for these guys. Godless Voyage, if I didn't say the title of the record. Heavy, Morbid Angel style breakdowns. It's got like Hate Eternal moments in it. Suffocation all the way. There are so many awesome, brutal death metal breakdowns in here. This record is heavier than shit. I am so glad that Nick turned me on to these guys. I can't wait to see what comes next after this short but brief EP release. My only gripe about this record is that it wasn't longer, because this is the epitome of heavy. At number 16, the band Aenigmatum, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. When I met the drummer of this band, Pierce Williams, who also plays in Skeletal Remains, he told me how to pronounce this, and it wasn't Aenigmatum, but he said he had heard that pronunciation before and that I wasn't far off. He told me what the real pronunciation was, and I forgot it because I'm a stoner. A hell of a release. The musicianship in here is absolutely stellar. The drum work is crazy. I thought he was actually using like rototoms at some point, but then he told me it was an old Gretsch maple kit with the 8-inch tom just tuned really high. He told me that he didn't use a click track on this album, which is insane because there are so many time changes, and I'm talking about like stop on a dime time changes. There are elements of death in here. There are elements of, bands like Obscura, Necrophagist. There are some knockdown, dragged out, just heavy, brutal moments in this. Disenthralled is actually one of my favorites. And Fracturing Proclivity. I'd recommend checking out both those tracks. Once again, Enigmatum. This CD just whoops ass, and I had a chance to pick up this album from Pierce, and I didn't. We just burned one instead. Again, another album on 20 Buck Spin. God, I love 20 Buck Spin. But yeah, check out Enigmatum. I really, really love this listen. Coming in at number 15, Celestial Sanctuary with the album Soul Diminished on Redefining Darkness Records. For fans of Tombstoner and Warflurch and Hellslave and Gossudar, ambience to the nines, gotta love it. Again, I love off chords, I love things that just sound creepy and gross. The track Soul Diminished whoops ass. Relentless Savagery, Mass Extinction, Endless Chasm. I'd never heard of these guys prior to this year, and I really, really fell in love with this album. To anyone that comes into my work in the middle of the night, you're welcome, because you've got to hear this. I'm pretty much full blast. This is such a great record. I'm so happy for these guys. Again, another band that I would love to see in concert, so we'll see what happens. Coming in at number 14, Beast. I don't know how to pronounce this, but I don't care. With the album Necro Sapiens. Again, you like Bloodbath? Do you like Bloodbath? Do you like super heavy riffs? Do you like breakdowns? Most of all, do you like bloodbath? Because these guys love their bloodbath. The song Gorgasm, Towers of Suffocation, Putrefaction Through Mutilation, Meat Hut Massacre, but the end track on this, Sea of Vomit, that song is so heavy. The opener riff on here is nasty. It's got a real just kind of like stomp groove throughout it all. And these guys also have a new track out now, and that track whoops ass too. But yeah, Beast, Baest, whatever you want to call it, that's what this record is, and this record whoops nuts. Coming in at number 13, Cathexis with the album Untethered Abyss. I just like heavy, chunky, groovy riffs, and this CD is not without that. Given to the Colony, Red Hook, Library of Babel, dude, that song is killer. But yeah, these guys just love heavy, beefy, crunchy guitars. The drummer of this band is a goddamn madman. I like the way he accents a lot of riffs. There's a lot of great cymbal work going on in here, but this is just heavy. I love sour lemons, just make you want to punch people in the face. I've started mosh pits at work because of this album, and I am probably going to continue. But yeah, I've listened to this record pretty much on the daily since it came out. So this is something you need to check out on Willowtip Records. This just packs a punch through and through. All these songs whoop ass. So yeah, that's Cathexis. And then coming in at number 12, how can you go wrong with Blood Red Throne and the album Imperial Congregation? Well, not much has changed. These guys just know how to bring heavy, thrashy riffs, groove metal, and there's nothing real flashy going on with guitars, but it is Riff City. It's Riff City, the drums are blazing, although they do well to stay in the pocket at times. 6-7, that song is so heavy. This whole record, just through and through, you have to bang your head. You have no choice in the matter, and that you move around and you have a great time. And if you love crazy riffs, just a riff factory of an album, Blood Red Throne, for me, I adored this album from the moment we reviewed it, and I continued to play it again throughout the year. So good movement for these guys on Nuclear Blast. Good job. Yep, Blood Red Throne. At number 11, Hooded Menace with the Tritonus Bell. This album is a little bit more speedier. It's a lot more melodic. There's great hooks going on in here. They stepped up the guitar work. There's great solos. This record is very pretty. And that's not to say that it's like uplifting by any means, because they still bring the thunder. Those Who Absorb the Night and Scattered into Dark, those were a couple of my favorites. Because they still take on a little bit more of the doomier moments, but it's just definitely more melodic. I was just shocked at how much of a difference there is between the record prior to this and this album here. This is a great release from these guys, and sometimes change isn't good for bands, but the direction that these guys took was a wonderful idea. And again, this is just a very pretty, relaxing, dark listen. Very impressed. Hooded Menace. And that brings us to the end of segment number 2. Of course, what's coming next would be my top 10. I'm very excited to bring that for you. However, if you like what you see right here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell. That way you can be entered into all things Thralls, and we do stuff like this all the time. I won't keep you any longer. I'm going to get down to my top 10. You guys take care of yourselves.